Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. But also, welcome to the Global Grief Conference 2025. And today's guest is he's my man. He's a podcast host, man. He's an all around awesome dude. Um, and also, we're going to be talking about something really important and exciting that maybe some people never even think about. And today was going to be talking about how to create an atmosphere for men to be vulnerable while we're grieving. We're going to talk about some do's and don'ts, right? And also share some of our experiences along with that. Okay. Now, without further ado, guys, I'm welcoming my guest, Terraine. Terraine, how you doing, brother?
I'm well, my friend. Tony, how have you been?
I am doing well, man. Busy as always, right? Leading up into this moment to the conference, man. You've seen a lot of stuff that's been getting put out there, man. We got an amazing lineup of great presenters from across the world, and they're bringing it. We've added in some few things this year, man, and I'm really excited for it. But most importantly, I'm excited to have this conversation with you, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. We're gonna be talking about grief and creating a safe space for men and an atmosphere for men to share because there's many times where they feel like they can't because we have to man up, be strong, and not show any type of emotions.
Exactly. So let's kick this thing off, man. When we think about creating an atmosphere for men to be vulnerable, to be open, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, what I think is allowing men to speak and allowing them to be vulnerable because when I look at my grief journey, I tried to be vulnerable with the people around me, but unfortunately I was being vulnerable with all the wrong people. It's like love, right?
Mhm.
You try to find
Yeah.
love in all the wrong places, thinking they're all the right places. So I think creating an atmosphere what people can do is just listen, man. If they can, if you have someone that wants to cry, let them cry. Don't try to enforce or reinforce manhood or masculine traits. Just let them be. So I think that's a great first step when it comes to creating an atmosphere for men.
Mhm. Which leads me to this next question, right? What is because coming as a man, right? I think about all the challenges. As a matter of fact, I was just talking with someone, and part of the things that I do when I talk to women, and as well as other men who may not understand, right? Like it's so simple that it goes across people's heads, right? And the reason why I say this is because when we come into this space, it's almost like a competition. A few things, what I'm saying? Women like to be heard, but it always, if a woman is not taught how to hold that space with men, it becomes, yeah, I got you in this space now, but I'm going to make this about me, right? I need you to pay attention to what I need to tell you because I really don't care about what you say. And I say that and I try to be nice when I say that, right? But it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? It's the truth, and it's a hard truth that we have to um we have to acknowledge it. We really have to acknowledge it, right? Because if we don't acknowledge it, most of these relationships aren't going to last, and these men are going to find themselves in a place to where they feel as if they have nowhere else, they have no other choices. And we've talked about this before. What are your thoughts on that, Terrain?
Well, the problem with choice is that, to my opinion, is that sometimes we have too many, right? Like when you think about when you're trying to pick a pop drink, a beverage, right? A soda, Pepsi or Coke. Easy, right? You just pick one or the other. Now what we have is we have Dr. Pepper, we have root beer, we have 7 Up, we have Sprite, we have all these different choices. So I think sometimes when we want to choose an, a path to take, because we have so many options, we choose the wrong one. I'll give you an analogy when I look at grief. Grief is like your house. before grief, right? Your house, the doors are locked, windows are nice, the lawn is freshly mowed. Then someone passes away. The door is broken, the window is cracked. As you're trying to repair that crack, that damaged door yourself, how would you feel if someone down the street said, "Hey, Tony, you missed a spot. Hey, Tony, you forgot over here"? That's what grief feels like sometimes, right? Because we look at it and we think, okay, I'm trying to do the work, but there's someone, something that's distracting me. Back to your question about choice. Do we choose to listen, get discouraged, and change what we're doing, which is not going to be comfortable for us? Or do we ignore the background noise and say that, you know what? I put this door up before. I was able to carry forward before. I'm going to do it this way. Because at least if it doesn't work out, you have one person to blame, yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Is you looking at it and saying that, you know what, I listened to Jane, I listened to John, I listened to Andrew, I listened to Angie. They all gave me this advice. I knew it wasn't what I really wanted to do, but I listened to everyone else because I made that choice. And now here I am feeling worse. So I think that's the best way for me to describe the feeling of choice when it comes to handling grief.
That, you know what, that actually makes sense, man. Because of the simple fact of no one no one really thinks about that, right? When I love that analogy, you know what I'm saying, using the house as an example, because again, as you was talking about that, it's like you can see yourself looking out of the window at the top, right? Looking out, and you see yourself from on the bottom of the ground, looking up at the person in the house. It's like you're looking at yourself in a mirror because now everything has changed. Your perception of life has changed, right? The version of you that's on the outside looking up is probably seeing you isolated, seeing, asking, wondering to yourself, why aren't you coming outside? And the version of you that's in the house is thinking to yourself, like, I feel safer in here than to be out there. Just by everything that you just said right there, right? Because I think, and I could be wrong, um, most men will create a safer environment no matter what the house looks like. Once the doors are broken, the windows are shattered, and things like that, we will run away from the cracks. We will run away from the broken doors and everything, and find ourselves in the attic, right? Because it's safer. I don't have to deal with the broken glass. I don't have to deal with the door or anything like that. And I don't have to. I'm safe behind this right here because you can't get to me, type thing.
Well, Tony,
Listen,
look at it like this, right? To your example, when you look at let's look at superheroes. Let's look at Batman. Let's look at Superman, right? No matter what they go through, no matter how many lives they protect or save, every time they need a moment to themselves, they go somewhere where they can be alone,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The Batcave, the what's it called? The place of solitude, the solitude fortress for Superman. They all
Oh,
have a
Krypton.
place. Yep,
Yeah.
right, exactly. They all have a place where they need to be with themselves. Men like you and I, where is that? That's in our minds.
Hmm.
We will be 100% okay living in our mind if the world around us is burning to the ground. Because we're so used to fighting the fight when we're grieving. We're
Hmm.
so used to take it on ourselves that when we can't take it on ourselves, we start to live in our mind. A fortress of solitude or a bat cave, all these places. So that's where it gets difficult to create an atmosphere for men because then you have to pull him out of the place he calls safe, which is his mind. A man will grieve and still have the best day at work. A man will grieve and still be able to protect his woman. A man
Hmm.
will grieve, still be able to fix his car, still be able to pick up the kids. You give him a moment to his mind, that's where you have to catch him before he escapes in his bat cave, in his solitude of fortress. And I think that's where it gets difficult for a lot of men because you look online and you've shared this before. How many resources are there for men groups when it comes to grieving? How many resources are there for men who have suicidal ideations? How many groups are there for men who suffer from depression? These are all byproducts of grief. So we
Yeah.
got to catch them before they start to live only in their minds.
You know, I want to add to that, right? Because I don't think I don't think people really grasp that concept because of the simple fact of the way that society has been set up to cater, right? It's been set up to cater to our female counterparts, and it's we've been pushed down. I was told this one time, and I was talking to a large figure, right? Someone who's important in the community and important in government. He told me, I don't know what, because I was telling him about the work that I was doing. He goes, I don't know why you do this work. Men just find other things to do, which really rubbed me the wrong way. Really just rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, really? I said, and what would be those other things? He was like, well, men just do this. I said, yeah. I said, have you seen the rate of suicides with men? Have you seen the rate of addiction with men? The rate of homelessness with men? Have you seen the rate of, broken family homes with men? The rate of incarcerated men? I said, see, you're right. You're absolutely right. Men do find other things to do because we don't have anywhere else to go. And then when we don't know how to express ourselves, we tend to do things like being violent. We tend to do things like going out there and getting addicted to drugs or alcohol. We tend to do those things. We tend to give up on life. That's why the homelessness is so high. I said, so when are we going to create an atmosphere or a place so men can do better things with their life? And he just kind of looked at me. He goes, well, I've never really thought about it that way. I said, well, as being a man, I said, you ever lost anybody close to you? He goes, yeah, I lost both of my parents and a younger brother. I said, then what did you do? Because I never really dealt with it. Okay. Now, do you understand? And he is now a client of mine. And I told him, I said, dude, if you don't deal with this, it's going to deal with you, right? It's going to deal with you. And to this day, he's still working on himself, right? But the progress that he has made, taking the little steps, retraining his thought pattern of everything that he has ever been taught. Not that I want to talk about that. Has really changed the way he perceives life now, right? Because he has kids, he has a wife, and things like that. He has a beautiful family, but his whole perception now is totally different. Where he's encourages his children to be open and vulnerable, to know how to talk, to wanting to wanting to have the courage to come to him, right? Encouraging his wife to allow him to be able to be her her significant other in his totality, right? Now, what are some of the challenges that people face, or in your own thoughts and in your own opinion, what do you think some of the challenges that people face when creating this atmosphere um, to have those conversations?
Well, I will use my own personal experience, what I've researched, as well as what you just shared, is that in general, people are dismissive when it comes to men.
Mhm.
to your point, right? He said that men will just find something else to do. Fair enough, we do find something else to do. We will go out there and we will be a crash test dummy. We'll find ways to hurt ourselves that doesn't hurt like this, right? So, for example, you have someone who is poor, who needs bread. He's going to knock on door number 1. No one answers. Door number 2, no one answers. Door number 3, door number 5, door number 10, no one answers. There's going to come a point where he's going to stop asking for the bread. He's going to start stealing the bread. This is what grief is to a lot of men. They'll go asking for assistance, but people may be dismissive. I don't have enough time. Man up. Don't be a pussy. Don't be a simp. Don't be this. You're acting like a girl. Right? Where are your balls? These are the same thing as in not answering your door when a man is looking for help. So eventually he's going to stop asking for help. So one of the obstacles is don't be dismissive, be understanding. And I think when someone is going to you for grief, assistance, the first step, another step is to speak less and listen more. Men in general, we like to fix things, right? Tony, my grandmother passed away. You know what, Terraine? I got you. Don't worry about it. We're going to go down here. That's fine when everything is positive, right? But sometimes what men have to do is that we have to take off our masculine hat, which is to fix things, and put on our feminine hat, which is to listen to things, right? That is an important thing because we look to fix things because if we were going through that, we'll say that, okay, you know what, I need to resolve this as quickly as possible because usually when our woman comes to us, they're coming to us to help them fix it. So that's why we default to that. Another obstacle is that we maybe think that the person is equipped to handle it because they're a man. And that is a dangerous assumption because if we assume that every man is able to fix their problems, then there's going to be a group of men that can't fix their problems. And if that group of men is unable to fix their problems, they're going to equate that to being less of a man. And if they start to feel less of a man, they may not want to be a man anymore. That's why suicide rates increase. That's why depression increases. That's why addiction increases. I can't cope with this. I'm being told that men are able to cope with this. Therefore, I don't feel like a man. Now, my grieving it's complex now. I'm grieving twice. I'm grieving the death of the person and the loss of my identity as a man because I no longer feel as a man. How do I soothe that? Alcohol. How do I soothe that? Drugs. How do I soothe that? Reckless sex. So now you're increasing the danger all because someone made you feel like you should be able to handle it on your own. So these are the 3 things that I see that comes up when it comes to helping men understand that there is a space out there. And maybe the 4th thing is showing them where the space is. I didn't know where the space was, but I was able to find it through my training and my experiences. Joe Blow down the street, if he doesn't have the skill set that Tony, you have, or that I have, we have to reach him. It goes back to that same one, reach one, teach one.
Yes, yes.
If we can't reach one, that one, we can't teach one. So those are the 4 things that I think are obstacles when it comes to creating a space and environment for men to understand that we are here for them and grieving is okay.
I want to add to that because one of the things or a couple of things that I run across too is getting men to get outside of themselves, right? Get out of your own way to allow yourself to connect with these other men and things like that. Because I have had men who are so embedded into the stigma that they're supposed to man up and things like that, that they will sit around and say, oh man, I'm okay, man. You know what I'm saying? That, I just got to man up. I just got to man up. So it's this thinking that comes along with that as well, to add to what you was just saying. But also to give men the courage. And what I mean by this, so I'm gonna add another section to that. Give men the courage to allow us to meet them where they are, right? And the reason why I say that, because I talk to people who is in service to other people, and I hear the complaints. There's nobody coming. There's it's so hard to reach people. This, that, another. So I look at where they are. And I go, well, instead of asking people to come where you are, why don't you go where they are, right? Because you're asking people to come outside of their comfort zone to meet you where you're safe. But you chose to do this work, so why don't you go and meet them where they're safe? Then you build a relationship with them to where they feel safe with you. So that those are some of the challenges that I see coming about with this, and having that atmosphere. Another one, um, we have to begin to encourage one another to know when to shut up, right? And it's crazy as it may sound, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience when I say this, but too many times I have a friend and they're really bad about doing this. I will call them up because I'm looking for somebody to speak to. Right? I just want somebody to talk to. And I've known my friend, I've known them for 26 years now, right? 26 years. And it's always the same thing. So I just learned to keep my mouth shut, right? And I talk to them all the time. And whenever I talk to them, they always go, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And as soon as I try to say something, they try to complete my sentence and everything as if they knew what I was going to say. And I go, please don't do that. They're like, no, no, no. I was like, that wasn't even what I was going to say. They go, oh, well, I was like, no, you wanted me to say that so you can have a reason to respond, right? You're not listening to listen. You're listening to respond to me. And in turn, you're cutting me off without listening to what I'm actually saying, which is causing me to not want to say anything. So, and then they get mad. They were like, well, I was like, no, I don't think I want to talk anymore. I think I just want to hang up the phone, and just be done with this conversation. And then they're upset. Well, I didn't mean it that way. No, after 26 years, you do, because it's not the first time that I've actually mentioned it to you. It's probably the thousandth time I've mentioned it to you, and yet you still do the same thing over and over and over again. Now it may just be me because this person's been in my life for 26 years, right? And we've been through hell and back. Okay, me and my friend, we've been through hell and back. Doesn't excuse the behavior. It really doesn't. But I think in a lot of ways, it's the comfort of saying that I have a friend, right? Um, doesn't make it doesn't make it okay. It just means that I have a friend, right? And that could be, and please let me know what you think about this. That could be because I've lost too many people, that you cherish the people that are around you because you know that they don't mean any harm. Um, and I think a part of it is too, and this may resonate with a lot of other people out there. Um, no one wants to be alone in this world, regardless of how tough we may seem. No one wants to be alone, Terraine, right? I want to get your thoughts on that.
I'll take this perspective from it. So there's a book called The Five Love Languages, and it tells us how the different ways we can love someone: words of affirmation, gift giving, quality time, words of affirmation, so on and so forth. Similarly, there are ways to love us when we are grieving. The
Mm,
problem is now is that people will love us in a way to grieve in the way that they want it to happen. They don't love us in the way that we want to be loved when we're grieving in the way that we want. How many times have
mm,
people asked, what can I do for you? How can I do this for you? Instead, they think to themselves, intentionally or not, with malice or without, if I was going through this, this is what I want. So they automatically do that to you. So now in your grief bank account, instead of healthy deposits, they're unhealthy withdrawals. They're draining
mm,
you because they're ignoring your feelings, right? They're not caring for you in the way that you care for. They're doing it from their own perspective. It may come across as selfish, it may come across as ignorant, but all you know is that this person, friend, family, or loved one, is not giving me healthy, loving deposits in my grief bank account. So, what does that
mm.
look like? That means you're always going to be at zero, and the more you're around them, you're going to run a negative balance. And anyone knows what happens when you have a negative balance in your account. Things start to bounce.
Mhm.
You can't do the things that you want to do because this person's draining you. You can't be the person you want to be because these groups of people are draining you. And then, unfortunately, what happens with a lot of people when it comes to friends they've had for 5, 10, 15 years is that, you know what, they say, I've been through, I've known this person for 10 years. 5 years ago, I needed them and they're there for me. That's fine. That's a deposit 5 years ago.
Mm.
How many deposits have they made since? How many withdrawals have they made since? And that's the difficulty that I think impacts maybe men more than women. Women in general will go along to get along, right? When it comes to
This is
feelings,
true. This is true.
that's true. That's true, right? But men will always say, "Bros before hoes, loyalty over
Mm,
everything else,"
mm.
right?
Yeah.
But they don't realize that are you loyal to the person or the behavior? And Tony, my birthday was a couple weeks ago. I'm loyal to behaviors more than people. And once I realized that, the second time I had to go through my grief journey was a lot more positive experience than the first one. I didn't even go to the people that's only withdrawn from my grief account. I went to the people who I knew was going to make healthy deposits. So that is what I would tell people who's experiencing that, as well as anyone who may experience it in the future.
Mm. I would see. You said something, man, and I find that fascinating because it's something that I found out a long time ago as well. When I first started this journey of wanting to of exploring grief and realizing how important it was to me, and realized that the love that I had for it, right, and the knowledge that it began to bestow upon me, the wisdom. Um, I had a phrase, and I still have this phrase about the love languages. When I talk to people, I go, look, when you go out here to these support groups, right? It is okay. Yeah, no. I was going to mention that to Nicole. She's the one I just got done talking with. Um, your mic, I believe, is. It sounds like it's reverbing. So there's a lot of static in it.
How about if I move it farther away? How does that sound?
It's like really every time you talk. Like if your voice is not clear, I can still hear you, but you have a lot of vibration coming from it.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, how about now?
There you go. Yes, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
So that was my problem. That's why I always want to make sure the mic is okay because anytime I use StreamYard, it picks up my other mic. So
Mm.
yeah, so hopefully we can continue forward and we'll
Oh
go
no,
for it.
we
Sorry about
good.
that.
We good. Like I said, we're definitely good. I was going to say something earlier, but we had got wrapped into the conversation. So thank you, Nicole, for tuning in. So Nicole is the young lady that I was just speaking with earlier, that, and she works with men out here, so she may have some questions as well. But I love the fact that, again, I want to go back to what you just said about the love languages, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I think it's important when you're going around to these support groups and things like that. It's okay to see what you can get from these groups, right? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it is. Is it the type of group that's going to, that is very engaging? Is it educational, right? Is it in person? Is it virtual, right? And if either which way it goes, it's okay to build relationships, but look for people that can speak to your love language, right? You know what I'm saying? Those individuals, those are going to be the ones that actually get you, but actually teach you as well, right? And that's where I find that a lot of people build those connections um, with those individuals, right? But the other part of it is that um, as we begin to walk through these different aspects of grief, trauma, mental health, um, and addictions, it's extremely important to have grace for yourself, but also be resilient in the way that you approach the root cause of everything, right? Or not even the root cause, the multiple causes of everything until you're able to get to the point to where it begins to, where you can go, oh, okay, this is where it started, right? And it may not even be something that you may um, that may not be obvious. It may be something that you've been inherited too. You know what I'm saying? Which you may have to cut those ties with as well. Uh, what are your thoughts on that, Terraine?
No, that's something that I learned the hard way.
Mm,
Is that it goes back to, right? Like when you want to have someone in your life, the question you need to ask yourself is, and this may come across as selfish, what is the benefit of having this person around? Are you still holding on to something they did 5, 10 years ago, but they're not making healthy, loving grief deposits into your account? They're just withdrawing. So what that looks like is you are going to continue to hope this person treats you differently, or at the very least they show that they care in a way that's important for you to be able to feel that they care. You see, one of the things about grief is that logic a lot of times goes straight out the window, right? You don't want it to be a mathematical conversation or equation. You want to say that I need assistance with this today. Can you hold space for me? Can you show up in the way that I need you to show up? Are you able to be the person that I know that you can be, but you have to show me? And you mentioned earlier when you asked about obstacles, and we talked about being dismissive in your responses, not being present when the person needs you, not holding space, not creating an atmosphere, showing love and concern in a way that you would want it if you were going through it instead of asking the person how they need it. And Tony, you and I have talked about a number of things. You know that um, a lot of men, they just want to fix it, right? Tony, you're
yeah.
grieving. Let me fix this for you. Hold on. I don't need you to fix me because now you're saying there's something wrong with me. There's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with me.
Hmm.
I just need you to maybe open your ears a little bit wider, close your mouth a little bit smaller, and just let me cry it out. Let me scream it out, right? And I think if men were able to look at it from that perspective and not just tap into their masculinity and embrace some of their femininity, then you could truly understand. And that is the power of the five love languages. Just take that and turn it into the five grief languages. Hold space for someone. Give them your quality time. Give them your words of affirmation. Give them a gift. Hey, you know what? You're grieving right now. I understand. Do you need to get groceries? I'll go run and get some groceries for you. These are things that are perfect and well-meaning when it comes to holding space and helping men get through their grief.
Mm. And Nicole just put a comment up here. Now that can go. I want to pop this back up here because I want to talk about it a little bit because that can go one or two ways, Nicole. And the reason why I say that, right? Yes, you're absolutely right. It could be a reflection of unmet needs from our childhood, or it can be the way that we express ourselves, right? And how we're willing to be open to receive as well, right? And that it gets real tricky when you begin to talk when you begin to add those things in because we can associate with gift giving as people pleasing, but then there's some people who just like to see you smile. There are people out here whose love languages, like mine, is acts of service. I love being of service to other people. It's not people pleasing, but it makes me feel good to see other people smile, right? Um, there are people out here whose love language is physical touch. Now that can go one or two ways as well. That could be a reflection of not having enough of it as a child, or it can be a way that that transference of energy, right? Because I love to shake people's hands. Why? Because your handshake tells me a lot about you, right? It's the transference of energy. It lets me know whether if you're going to be safe or if I need to be cautious. I'm very I'm very sensitive to people's energy. So and if I don't feel safe with you, I won't allow you to touch me after that. Like no, because people like that will drain me, right? So when we talk those that can go a multitude of ways when we begin to think about our love languages. And Terrain, please chime in. Let us know what you think about that as well, because I think that's a really good question, and it's something that should be talked about. But more importantly, it should be understood, right?
Many of the many people who express themselves through the five love languages, to Nicole's point, it is believed that growing up they didn't get it in abundance or if they got it at all, right? So let's say, for example, you have the child that's growing up and they couldn't do right by their parents, and their parents didn't give them any positive words of encouragement. They will grow up seeking it in others, which is why you see this impact, let's say, women a lot more, because you'll have players, pimps, and men in general will say that, hey, you look so beautiful today. Oh my God, you're gorgeous. I just can't keep my eyes off of you. And a lot of people fall victim to that because growing up, they didn't hear it in a healthy way, or they didn't hear it at all. Now that they're actually hearing it, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, they begin to flock to it because all they wanted to do was to hear from it. My own example is that when I was growing up, I didn't have the best of relationship with my mother or my father, but to shut me up when they would mistreat me, they would buy me something. They'd be like, yeah, here, okay, Terrain, here's a gift, here's a toy. I grew up to resent gifts because I associated gifts with lack of sincerity, lack of genuinity, as well as it was empty in meaning. So what did I want to hear? I wanted to hear words of affirmation. Just tell me I'm doing well. Just tell me you love me. Versus my girlfriend now, right? She got words of affirmation. Guys would just talk nonsense in her ears, like the first example I gave. Sometimes she believed it, sometimes she didn't. But while she was going through her 20s and her 30s, she realized that a lot of people that she was entertaining was all talk. So she grew up to resent that. It reminded her of the bad experiences. Now, here comes me. What I want is the words of affirmation. My turn off is gift giving. What she wants is a gift giving. but what turns her off is the words of affirmation. So when we came together now, we had to work to understand this. Just like grief, you want to be of service, Tony. A lot of people want to be of service. Someone may, let's use me as an example, I may come to you and say, Tony, you're doing a good job. Hope you get through your grief. That may not be enough for you. But the way I want to be loved through my grief is to hear that. Now, what I have to do then is I need to take a step back and think, how is it that Tony wants to be loved through his grief? Ask him. That's the missing piece when it comes to grief. People are talking, they're not communicating. People are telling, and they're not asking. We need to ask, Tony, how can I love you through this moment? Tony, how can I make you feel loved through this moment? And you say, you know what, Terraine? I just need you to be there for me and show me an act of service. Perfect. I got you, Tony. I see here that, I went into your fridge, I went into your cupboards, they're a little low. Is it okay if I go buy groceries for you? Is it okay if I go take care of your clothing list? Can I do these things for you? You're going to love that. It may not be the way I want to love you, but it's not about me. And that's the problem with grief. Those who are looking to help, in many cases, they make it about them. I'm going to fix the world. We've all been victims of savior complex. I'm Jesus H. Christ. I'm going to save every single person. Every time I walk down the street, I'm going to make sure I give money to the homeless person. I'm going to make sure I give bread to the single mother. I'm going to make sure I have a conversation with the single father. Do you know how many times I went and I spoke to homeless shelters and people told me, you know what, people give me money. I didn't want the money. I wanted the food and the conversation. That's what they want. So when it comes to grief now, and it comes to the love languages, ask the person, because the worst thing you can ever do to someone is love them the wrong way. And that's what happens in grief a lot. So that's what I would tell people. Start asking, stop telling, and understand what the person needs, because it is not about you. It's about the person grieving.
I love that because that's part of the things that I teach as well. When it comes down to understanding the love language, understanding how to communicate, understanding how to open up the doors, acts of service to that individual. Well, I want to change that a little bit because act of service and being a visitor are two different things. So, and what I mean by that is that when a person, say for instance, I may have a hard time communicating what's going on with me, but I may call up Terraine and say, hey, Terraine, hey, think you can stop by a little bit, man. For I can really just use some company, right? I'm not looking for I because at that moment I may not know what I want, right? And I need you to understand that. I just need you to understand that. I just need your presence. Here's where people sometimes will get trapped up when people say this. No one knows how to visit within that space. So part of the things that I teach is I tell people, learn how to be a visitor when someone invites you into that space. Hold that space with them. As you're going around, don't, shut up. Don't say nothing. Because for one, they just invited you in. You've already got the biggest part out the way. You've already got that out the way. Just don't say nothing. Become a visitor. So, say for instance, if I go into Terraine's house and you're sitting there, and I know that you're grieving, you're actively grieving, you're going through it right now. You ain't said nothing to me, but I know you just invited me in. I've already looked in your kitchen. I see that your dishes need to be done. I'm not going to ask you for permission to do them. I'm going to do it for you, right? Like you said, I'm looking in your fridge. Hey, okay, not a problem. You know what I'm saying? But I'm also taking a mental inventory of what you have in there. Because, you know what I'm saying, I want to know what do you like to eat? Remember, it's not about me. It's about you, right? I'm looking in your laundry room. I see that you got dirty clothes that's been piled up for probably about a month or so. Let me take care of that too. So I got to figure out where all your stuff is, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm being a visitor. But most importantly, what I'm doing as I'm doing this, I am taking away every excuse that you have to cater to me, right? I'm taking away. No, no, you sit down. Hey, man, why don't you put on a movie, man? You know what I'm saying? You want to watch a movie? Want to watch some, you want to watch some music or something like that? Here's the remote, man. Here's the remote. Why don't you put something on, right? It's out of my control. It's in yours because I'm being a visitor with you, right? And I may just come and sit down after all of that. Come and sit down, and you're gonna look at me. Hey man, you need something to drink before you even say anything. Before you even try to ask me what I want. Hey, Terraine, would you like something to drink, man? Like I could let me go ahead and grab you something, right? You know what I'm saying? Would you like some ice in this type stuff, right? So I'm catering to you because I want you. I don't want you to have an excuse, right? I don't want you to think that you need to take care of me. I'm in your space. That's where a lot of people get tripped up at. No one knows how to visit when holding space because most people don't even know the definition of holding space, right? No, that is something that should be taught when you're getting into this world. Any sort of grief, trauma, mental health, addiction, being a therapist, being a psychiatrist. If you're going to get into this field, I think it's really important to learn what truly holding space with someone is, right? And to be able to walk within those moments with those individuals to help them and make them feel heard, seen, and validated. To and this is the hard part for human beings because this is natural to not to put yourself in a place to where you feel that you got to compete with that individual to make with your experiences more than what they need to be. Also, to know when to have grace and not take things personal in that space. Because when a person is actively grieving, they may say some things to you that you may not like. So have some grace. Remember, the person that you're in that space with is hurting, actively hurting. And have some patience with them. Because a lot of times people reach out that way because they don't know how to express themselves the way that you may express yourself. Maybe this is unfamiliar territory to them. It's just like men. Most men are angry when they go through things. What society doesn't say is that that's like how men cry. It's our second go-to language when we're children. Because we get told to man up so much, and that we can't be weak, that we have to go out here and protect our masculine nature. So, in order to prove to you that I'm still a masculine man, I have to go out here and you know what I'm saying, I have to be angry because I can't express myself. Unfortunately, it has such a bad rep. Um, but that's how men cry. Now, I could be wrong, but what if I'm not? Does it change the conversation that we have? Does it change the way that we look at each other? Does it give does it give a better understanding about how we can approach and support each other on a deeper level? What are your thoughts on that, Terrain?
Well, my thoughts are this, and I'll share this example, and we touched on it a little bit earlier. is that you mentioned that men, the way that they cry, the way that they express themselves is anger, because in a lot of ways we're told that, right?
Mhm.
But what a lot of people don't understand is that anger is a secondary emotion. So when you're grieving, the anger is to cover something else up. What could that be? Let me break it down for you like this. If as a man, I'm told from the day that I was born to the day that I'm in my 30s now, that I have to be a man, that I can't show weakness, that I have to be strong, I can't cry. That anger comes from me disappointing myself because I haven't lived up to an expectation that is already established for me before I could even speak, before I could even walk. Where do I go from there? Addiction, alcohol, women, drugs. So what happens now is I'm getting further frustrated, further angry, because I'm moving farther and farther away from being a man like I was told to be. I couldn't handle my grief. I can't come up with a solution. I'm now suffering from addiction that I can't overcome now. I'm weak. I'm weak. I'm weak. So, what happens to a man that is tired of being weak? We know the stats, right? He falls into depression. He
Mhm.
falls into
Mhm.
suicidal ideations. This is what happens. So, you see how lack of an environment, lack of a safe space, lack of conversation leads to a man feeling angry because that anger is covering up him feeling inadequate. He is inadequate to himself, to his family, to his partner, to everybody. A man that grieves, to a lot of people, is a weak man.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
crying in public, you crying to another man, you're crying on camera. These are things that a lot of men can't deal with, so they begin to hide it. You mentioned earlier in our conversation that if a man doesn't go through the grieving process, what else does he do? These are the things that he does. Worst case scenario, he's like, you know what? I've had enough. I can't cope anymore. No one's there for me. Everyone's telling me to man up. Everyone's telling me to let my balls hang. All these toxic terminologies that all they do is perpetuate a stereotype that you're supposed to be the strongest person in the room. It's okay to be the weakest person in the room. The weakest person at least understands their reality. They can get strong. The person who's pretending to be the strongest man in the room, he doesn't know the strength of everyone else because he's not observant. He's so focused on pretending and creating an image. That's what happens to a lot of men who have this unresolved anger. It's covering up what we're struggling with. We want to be heard, we want to be seen, we want to be comforted. I spoke to someone yesterday and I said that when you ask for more time, did you need more time or did you need patience? When you ask for support, did you need support or did you need guidance? These are the two
Mm.
things that helped me to make sure that I wasn't consumed with anger. I could have been angry at the way people tried to help me the first time I went through it. I could have been angry at the people who closed their doors every time I knocked on it. I could have been angry at the people that decided that, you know what, Terraine, we're not going to deal with you as you're dealing with this. We have every right to be angry, but you being angry doesn't stop the other people from living their life. The world doesn't stop for you. Your world may stop, but the more men stay in the emotion of anger, the faster the world seems like it's moving because everyone is
Mhm.
going to get on with their life. So that's what I would say is the danger, Tony, of being consumed by anger as well as leaving it untreated and unnurtured and unresolved.
I want to touch on that a little bit from Nicole. Thank you, Nicole, for putting that up there because uh, stoicism. There's a lot of people, like I've had people on my show that have used it in a way, in a very positive way. There are people who can use that in a very negative way as well, right? Um, and so, for me, I say, and again, I'm only speaking from my perspective. If it makes you a good person, I'm all for it. If it makes you not a good person, change what you're doing. Now, I've talked to other men who have used Stoicism in a way, a very, very good, positive way. They are here helping change people's lives. And I've met people that go the opposite way. Terraine, what say you?
That's a big question. It is a big question because the burden of it to be stoic weighs heavier on men than women,
Mhm.
right? So let's establish that, right? It's viewed differently. So women in general can be stoic in a group. In general, men can't be stoic in a group. For example, if men were to get together and a man says, "Hey guys, you know what? I have this problem. I'm dealing with it." How long before one man says, we don't want to talk about it right now. Where the girls at?" Right?
Yes,
Right?
yes,
Like
yes.
how long until someone who's a fool interrupts it and says something very insensitive, very silly, where a group of women would be like, "Oh my God, really, Jane? Like, tell me more. What's going on?" Women will stop what they're doing to entertain it.
Mm,
Men will pause what they're doing and resume it as you're still explaining. So what happens now is you have a choice. Either you're going to push down and bury what you're going through just
mm,
to continue to be a part of the group, or you're going to try to speak about it again and you're going to be isolated. They're not going to want to be around you because you're bringing down the vibe,
mhm, mhm.
right? So now when you feel that isolation, what do? You have to make another choice. Either I get through this as quickly as possible, which you know, Tony, is never a good plan,
Right, exactly.
or I take my time and I find better people. But the problem with being stoic again is that if you went to someone and said, "Okay, I want you to be stoic. I want you to endure and be strong." They're like, "Yeah, I can do that." But you're going to be alone for the next 12 months. Well, I don't want to be alone. Like alone is I can't be alone. Can they now carry both burdens? Can they carry the burden of being stoic on this shoulder and being alone on this shoulder while everyone around them maybe doesn't understand?
Mm,
And I think that's why men struggle with that because when it comes to being stoic, once you fail at it publicly, that is quite the journey to regain that reputation of being stoic again. So
mhm,
that is a definite problem for a lot of men to deal with and confront.
mm. I love that. I love that. Man, we've touched on some deep topics up here. Uh, Anybody have any other questions that you have? Uh, any other questions that maybe some comments that you want to throw up in there as well? So let us know what you guys think. Because as we begin to reach this up, if you didn't catch the full episode, what I'm saying, guys, this is going to be in the Global Grief Conference as well. So I'm saying, you guys got a sneak peek of what's actually going to be coming to the conference. And so yeah, put your questions in there. You know what I'm saying, and we'll be sure to answer them. Terraine, you got an amazing podcast. Tell people about your podcast, brother.
Yeah, so my podcast is called The Behind the Shade Show, where I speak about things like that as well as other mental health issues that pertains to the three different types of relationships. So that could be personal, romantic, or professional. Because I believe that they are more connected than people think. And I think one of the ways that is true is that just look at the behaviors that you demonstrate in your job, in your interpersonal conversations, or even with your partner. And you'll begin to understand that it goes back to what we touched on when it comes to love languages, even the grief languages, is that are you showing up in the best way possible and in the best way to be loved? And that is what my show is about, and that is what my journey and my coaching sessions are about, because we all need help one way or another. It's just some people are aware of it, some people see it in the distance, but they can't really focus on it. Some other people choose to ignore it. And that, I think, is the real danger.
I love that. Um, how can people find you, my brother?
People can find me at behindtheshadesinterviews@gmail.com if you want to interview me or be interviewed on my show, or you can find my website at behindtheshades.ca as well as Facebook. So anything that says the Behind the Shade Show, I'll come up and you'll find me on all platforms and social medias.
Guys, reach out to him, especially if you're looking for an amazing host with an amazing podcast. Please reach out to him. This is just a taste of what we're going to be bringing, but also just a taste of what Terraine does and how he brings it. His conversation, right? You know, I love talking to this guy, man. Love talking with him. We always have a blast. We always go deep into these topics, things like that. So now, my next question to you, Terraine, would be: if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, let me see here. So I'm not going to use my favorite character because my favorite character is Gambit and he has kinetic energy, agility, things like that. So what I'm going to do, Tony, I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to answer it as it pertains to grief. Okay. My superpower would be, if you're familiar with Thanos and the Infinity Stones, I would want to have the Mind Stone. And the reason that is, it allows me to show people their past, present, and future and design a reality for them that is acceptable and understandable. So that is what I would pick, just to help people get through whatever it is they're going through and say that, hey, this is what it could look like if you were to do this. How does that sound? This could be your euphoria. This could be your heaven on earth. So it would definitely be the Mind Stone.
I love that. I love that. And now, one last thing. If you can leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with?
What I would leave the audience with, I'll leave the audience with this. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay not to be understood. What isn't okay is for you to feel guilty and shame for those things. What do I mean? I mean that if you're suffering, if you need assistance, if you need guidance, don't hide it. If you get rejected by one person, by two people, but the third person offers you assistance, don't feel bad about these two people. Either that they're too busy, they don't understand, or they don't care, but that's okay. Do you know why that's okay? Because you will be okay because this one person is offering you a hand. Remember, when you have fallen down, do you need 10 people to help you up? Or do you need just yourself and that one other hand? That's all you need sometimes, is that one other person. So I'm going to continue with this by saying that you are stronger than you think. You are more determined and more courageous than you think, as well as give yourself some credit. Grieving is not easy. Relationships in general aren't easy. Life isn't easy. We look around and we see all kinds of chaos these days in North America, Canada, and the United States. It's madness out there. But just because madness is outside your house doesn't mean it ever has to enter your house. Your house is where you're protected. Your mind is where you're protected. Make sure both are healthy. Because when you're going through the grieving process now, man, woman, or child, you will be better prepared because not only do you have the tools, all you need to go to someone like Tony, someone like myself, someone like Nicole, someone like whomever to sharpen it a little bit. Everyone's tools gets dull. Doesn't mean they're bad, doesn't mean you have to throw them out. Just means a little bit of shine, a little bit of sharpening. So that's what I would leave with the audience today.
I love that. I love that. And Nicole's going to be on the show on the 22nd, 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time next week. So you guys, if you guys get a chance, tune in to that. You know what I'm saying? She is someone else who's has gotten my respect working with men out here in this world, and we're going to have a really good conversation. Terraine's information, he just put it out there. Please go and check him out. And again, this episode is going to be in the conference on the 26th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. You can watch the whole thing there. Now, if you haven't, if you want to watch the full conference, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But most importantly, you can enjoy the conference from your home. We'll be live streaming on all platforms, including YouTube and Rumble, right? So you can watch it from your phone, your tablet, your TV, your laptop, all that good stuff, right? And just sit back and enjoy. Invite friends, get your popcorn, ask questions, be educated, feel the love, and have that support. With that being said, Terraine, thank you again, man. And I know you're going to be traveling for the conference, so I wish you, I wish you safe travels, man. And I can't wait till you get back. Just to share your experience for everyone else, please reach out to them if you're looking for an amazing podcast to be a part of. Terraine, thank you, my brother. For everyone else out there, thank you guys for allowing me to keep having these conversations and bringing them to you guys. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. All right. Peace.